What do we have here? Look at that, the telescope upgrades have arrived. Welcome back to the Reflactor channel. This is the concluding chapter in the restoration series that we're doing on the AstroSystems TeleKit 12.5-inch Dobsonian telescope. I'm having a lot of fun because this telescope is pretty darn cool. By the way, do not attempt to adjust your monitors. I did actually buy a new shirt. Anyhow, a lot has happened since the last video. I did ultimately finish painting the inside of the mirror box and the base. I used just under 1 can of the Rust-Oleum Camouflage Ultra Flat spray paint. And in my opinion, it turned out really well. Secondly, that blue filter finally arrived, the one that I bought on eBay, and I've already put it into the quick switch filter here, and we'll be using that when we test the whole thing at the end of the video. But a major portion of this video will be spent working on the mirror cell. This guy right here. Why is that? Well, it's because so much of what makes this telescope cool is in the mirror cell. And it's quite literally what makes it cool, because there is a cooling fan right there. There's a power button. And here's the 2 power cells that run that. And we've got the support triangles, right? They've been modified from original, but I've talked with the owner of AstroSystems and he's given me some ideas for taking them back to the original state. And of course, this sling, we're gonna have to shorten it just a little bit. I've got a couple of upgrades. To be honest, I'm pretty excited about it. I'm not gonna tell you what they are right now, you just have to watch. But first, let's go ahead and disassemble this. So I think we're gonna start with the belt that holds the mirror. It was about 1/4 of an inch too long. In fact, it was letting the mirror drop down a little bit too far and I couldn't get it perfectly centered into the mirror box. I can take this side over here is fixed with a screw and it pulls tight like that. And I drew a little line here to mark the angle that it comes off at. It goes around here. And this is, in theory, somewhat adjustable, but it's already at the end of its threads and there's not much room. I guess technically I could put a larger nut in there or a stack of washers or something like that. But I don't know if that would give me all the room that I need. What I need to do maybe is shorten it up over here. For example, take a little bit of a dowel rod and put it in here because there is some space there. And that would eat up quite a bit of space. Now there's a screw there attaching it. I have to pull that out. Now I've already marked where it is height-wise, so that should not be a problem. All right, there's the dowel rod. I want to make sure that it's exiting with the same angle. And I'm going to mark this down here. All right, so let's go ahead. We'll just go ahead and remove this right now. Now I have a drill bit that's the same diameter as this dowel rod, and I'm just going to put it right here and just drill straight down. I'm only drilling it straight down far enough so that I can put this into the board and I'll glue this in place. And then of course, when we're done, we'll paint this whole thing flat black. All right, that's actually a perfect fit. All right, I'll glue that in place. I'll cut this off, obviously. Let me go ahead and glue that. I'm just going to remove this right now. I'm just using plain old wood glue for this. Next up, let's remove the hold down discs. That's easy enough. You can see they've got felt on them, right? So they never really touch the mirror in a tough way. We might have to revisit these because I think I might need to add some washers. Actually, we'll see. I have new felt, so we'll fix it. I'm going to put all these parts in my little recycle bin just so I don't lose them. Next up, I'd like to get rid of these batteries. Now, I've already photographed all the wiring, so if anything happens, I'll be able to put it back together. Hint, by the way, one of those upgrades does have to do with the power setup here. I'm going to pull the cables off here. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. All right. These should just come off pretty easy. All right. There we go. There's one of them. Pretty neat looking, right? They look like one of those RTG power generators on the Mars Curiosity a little bit, don't they? And there's number 2. All right, so we're going to leave the power stuff here. Next up is we have to remove these support triangles. So I'm going to try to get this guy off. I'm going to put a wrench on the head down here, and depending on how much glue is on there or whatever they used. Is it turning? It is not. All right, so we've got a new tactic. The nut on the bottom is attached to this guy, and I've got this up here. So, and that's not good. That means the nut underneath is loose, and this one is still tight. All right, so let me figure something else out. All right, so I've got a new tactic. I've threaded this all the way in as far as it'll go, and now I'm just going to grab this nut and try to take it further, and it should snap off right here. It's going to run out of space, hopefully. Hopefully? I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, it's starting to get tight. And then this will come off. Boy, what kind of glue did they use? Oh my, I don't think that's coming off. Oh, there we go. Yep. It's too bad the bolt underneath didn't have that much grip. All right, we freed another one. Let's pull that off. Double stick tape. Okay. Now this is, I would like to know what they used. Tell me what you think down in the comments, what you think they used. Was it epoxy or Loctite or asbestos? Now, I'd like to see if I can back that off. It's going to be pretty tough. Okay, well that was unexpected. So I just need a bigger wrench. This is by far my biggest wrench. It's going to be a little bit tricky probably going through those threads, but that's okay. Hopefully that fits right back on this rubberized head. Yeah, that fit right on there. Put that over here. All right, so got that one out. This one's almost out. All right, I'll show you what I'm going to do here. And we'll just repeat for the last one. While we're at it, let's take the rest of the electrical components out. I'm going to leave the fan in place though. Oh, you know what? I have to paint this, so let's take the fan out too. Let's put these over here. There it is, totally cleaned. I'm eventually going to paint this flat black again, but we're going to have to add some components to it, and I'll show you what I mean. So the way that I received the telescope, imagine this is the mirror cell. This is that big block of wood, and this is a collimation screw. Now this T-nut is right there. It's embedded into the wood, and when you turn this, this top part, of course, goes in and out. Here's one of the support triangles. You can see it is flush right there, and then it's got this recess. So this goes right on top, and this nut, this is how I got it, was set right there. Okay. Now, in a properly designed telescope mount system, you can see this teeter-totters. That's how it's supposed to be, because this triangle applies 3 points of contact to the bottom of the mirror, and there are 2 other triangles, so it gets a nice even support. These are supposed to teeter-totter. And so this collimation screw actually causes this support plate to go either in, this is all the way in, or all the way out. Now, no matter where it is, it can always teeter-totter. The only problem is this big giant nut, and this is how I got this. I found out after some correspondence with the AstroSystems founder, Randy, that the way it's supposed to be is that this nut should not actually be here. Instead, this should have a little threaded hole on the top, and there should be a washer right there, and there should be a little tiny screw that holds this to the end of the bolt, like so. I don't have it threaded yet, but as you can imagine, this little washer and the little threaded bolt is going to keep this from falling off the end, and it's also not going to have anything protruding. So nothing's going to protrude and jam into the back of a mirror. Previously, when the way I got this, it had this big nut on it, and it had a big felt pad like this on top of that. So I have a feeling that might have actually been interfering with the ability to accurately collimate it. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to thread the end of these bolts and put a little washer, and we're going to get rid of a lot of that extra space, just enough so that it still wobbles though. It'll still teeter-totter just fine. As I mentioned, if my hand is the ground and you set that whole mirror on there, it's going to push it out like that, which is exactly what happened, and which is one of the reasons why this absolutely could not collimate. It was kind of a mess as it is. So I'm going to put these T-nuts back in here with epoxy.
As it turns out, the eye bolts that hold the wheelbarrow handles to the side needed to be trimmed about 1/2 inch. All 4 of them. And now we're pre-drilling the end of the collimation bolt with a 3.2 millimeter drill, and then I will use a 4 millimeter tap. The first step to making sure that the T-nuts stay affixed in the mirror cell this time is to put plenty of epoxy. To make sure the T-nuts are properly seated, I'm using an old socket. Here it is, freshly painted. We'll give it an hour or 2 to dry.
Here we go. It's out with the old and in with the new. This battery is part of a pair of batteries, look like this. This is part of a power upgrade kit that you can get from AstroSystems. I went ahead and I purchased the upgrade kit with my own money. It's not a paid endorsement. And it comes with everything you need, including this power panel. It's been pre-soldered. It's got everything you need. The wires have little labels on them to tell you where they go. And it comes with a digital voltage readout, and it has a proper 12-volt connector. And what's really impressive is that it's the exact same shape with the same holes as the one that I'm replacing. To put that into perspective, this telescope was built a quarter of a century ago, and the upgrade kit you can buy right now just drops in. It's pretty darn cool. This also comes with a very long car charger, and it comes with a trickle charger so that you can charge these batteries without worrying about destroying them. Now, this all goes in the mirror cell. Let's show you the mirror cell. Here it is, all finished and painted up and all fixed up. It has the T-nuts that have been epoxied and hammered into place. It has these 3 felt pads that represent the lowest that the mirror will ever go. It does have to maintain some distance above the mirror cell because the electronics sticks out a little bit. So there's some thickness and you don't want it to hit the electronics. So we are in the final assembly now. This is pretty exciting. And the first thing that goes in is the electronics. So let's do that. I've got a surprise for you. If you're enjoying this video, please push that like button. It means the world to channels like this. Thanks. All right, so let's go ahead and just put this in its spot. That's right there. And this is labeled. It tells you where it's going. We're going to put one battery over here and one battery over here. I should mention I did go ahead and connect this to my existing fan, so I have some soldering and some heat shrink wrap on those wires. All right, so that panel is in place. Now we're going to just screw the fan in. All right, now we need to run the wires. There is a jumper wire that he provides, so these two are in series. So pull these off. Red to red and black to black. And we've got a jumper cable that goes across here. So we have a 6-volt battery and a 6-volt battery together in series, which gives us 12 volts, and that's exactly what the fan is rated at. I'm going to reach under here and push the power button and see what happens. Ooh, look at that. Wind's coming this way. Very nice. Now, I'm going to stick the batteries on. It has self-adhesive tape here. All right, let's put this right about. Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. All right, let's put this right about there. Same as the other side. It's about a 1/4 inch out from the outside wall. All right. Yeah, that's on there pretty good. Now we're going to run the wires to keep them out of the way from everything. Take these little self-adhesive strips here. Put that right there. Now I have to make sure that this will not run into that or that. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll put them there. We'll just bend the wires a little bit. All right, so everything is on there secure, and this won't hit the wires if it's pulled all the way down. This won't hit the wires if it's pulled all the way down, and this won't rip. Well, there. And this won't hit the wires. All right, so I would say the electronics is in and ready to go. Let's turn it over. Hopefully this will hold the weight of the batteries. I've got these spacers here. I'm going to push this button. Look at that! Pretty cool, huh? Okay. We'll call this done. Alright, so we're going to put the collimation bolts in. We're going to put them in from underneath because once we screw them up in here, I'm going to Loctite this nut on. Now, I did create these plastic washers so that it would reduce friction when they were pushing on the support plate, right, like that. I'm going to go ahead and put these 3 collimation screws up through the T-nuts, and then we need to make sure this nut is down about a 1/4 inch. That's what I'm guessing is what we need to get that maximum teeter-totter on there. And then I'll put Loctite on these. So let's go ahead and do that. The Loctite is working really, really well. I wish I could just put this in there, but I can't, obviously. Oh my goodness. I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to go ahead and thread these nuts on these 3 bolts. Okay, so let's tilt it up. I'm going to drip Loctite on these and then bring the nuts forward until they're 2/10 inch from the front. Okay, so I'll go ahead, see how that looks, and I'll let that cure overnight. We have the power package installed. Double check. It's working good. We've got the 3 collimation screws. The thread lock is cured overnight, and let's go ahead and get started. Let's put the 3 little washers on. Let's put the center ring on. I put double stick tape here. Now the way that this works is unless you have these 3 triangles attached to some kind of central control ring, when you adjust the collimation screws, they will spin. So that's why this ring is here. Its sole purpose is to stick there and prevent these from spinning. So let's first go ahead and put these screws in. And I'm just going to put a dab of Loctite on the screws themselves. Just a little bit. Just putting a tiny bit on there just in case I have to take this apart. Let's screw these in. Got some teeter-totter, yes. In case you're wondering, I have this up on a couple of 2x4s
So I can
put my hand under it. Alright, now I'm going to peel the self-adhesive off of this stuff. This is the 3M double stick. It's used for car body stuff. It's pretty good stuff. Let's go ahead and put this on. Just going to point it towards the middle of the fan before I do this. Be very careful. Alright, now this is on there pretty good. Let's turn one of these collimation screws. Alright, looks like they're holding their position. Excellent. I'll lift this up so I can work on the swing. Alright, I'm going to put the bolt in over here that holds it in place. A 1/4 inch bolt. And a wing nut. Let's put on the 3 hold down discs. I went ahead and painted these flat black as well. For now, I'm just going to put them on as they were originally. I don't know why these screws are so long, but oh well. I probably could have used a shorter one. That's all right. If this doesn't allow the mirror to rise up enough, I'm going to have to raise these up with washers. So there might be some back and forth while we test out the mirror. Let's go ahead and put this back in the mirror box. Alright, so this is going to be remounted into here at the hinge location and tilt up into the mirror box. So first things first is to install the 2 big hinges, and then see if it closes. Look at that. Let's add the mirror. All right, now the collimation screws are all the way up in the sky. Let's lower them down. Now what's interesting is there's only about a 1/4 inch to play, even though there's a 1/2 inch sticking out. So I'm actually going to put some washers in between here and here. I am going to remove the mirror just to be safe. I will probably adjust these spacers that I put in, these little 1/4 inch nuts spacers, when I figure out if they are needed. I'm going to raise the mirror up a little bit. The Loctite seems to be holding well. Let's put the belt on. Careful. Put the belt around there. All right, washer, nut, wing nut. It's resting on the belt, so in theory I should be able to tilt this up. It's not going to come forward. These in. Okay, so let's put this in the base. All right, and there it is in all of its restored condition. Let's put the struts on and assemble this thing and see if we can get it collimated. I did modify the dust cover a little bit. I painted it black and I put permanent magnets, which makes it stick into place. But again, the knot is so that when I take this out, it can't fall and hit the mirror. So you just match up the silver mark to the silver mark, and the permanent magnets line up. Here it is in all of its glory. It does seem to be a little bit tail heavy. I think I have an idea. All right. Just a milk jug filled with water. Let's go ahead and see if we can collimate this now. Well, it's pretty close. Let's go ahead and put the laser pointer in. We'll just make some adjustments to these screws. There we go. So here's the 3 collimation screws, and I will just turn them until I get the red dot to move into the center of the target. All right, that looks pretty good. I'll double check it, but I think this is collimated. This has been a really fun restoration. I would say it's complete, but there is one thing missing. So here comes the final upgrade. In 1, 2, 3. I was going to make the shroud myself, but our sewing machine was broken. Fortunately, AstroSystems still sells shrouds for all of their TeleKits. I bought this one for just $69 plus shipping, which is quite a bargain. Well, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. So it's time to put this telescope to a test. There's kind of a strange situation right now, and that is that it's just after a new moon, so we're only seeing a little sliver, and it's just after sunset. So we'll be looking at the moon while it's very low on the horizon, so there's going to be a lot of heat convection from the nearby roofs. So hopefully we can get some good still images of the moon. We'll try the different filters, and then we'll wait until the morning when the planets come out. So hopefully we can get some good views of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars. So wish me luck.
So here it is at about 60 magnification. This is unfiltered. Let's switch over to red. All right, we've dialed in the red. Pretty ominous, sinister look, but it looks kind of cool. Let's switch over to orange. Here we go. The orange is kind of neat, right? It's not quite as sinister as red, but I think coming up next is the yellowish green color. Let's give that a try. That's interesting. It sort of brings out the detail on that. Now, rumor has it that the next one, which is the blue filter, is supposed to make the moon look pretty good. Let's see how the 80A blue filter looks. I have to admit, that looks pretty good. I will say visually, this particular filter makes the moon really stand out. So if you ever have to buy a filter for the moon, I'd recommend an 80A. Let's zoom in a little bit on one of those craters near the top. We're going to go ahead and do the filters in reverse order this time. We're starting with the bluish. Let's switch over to the green. Now, you can really see the heat convection coming off the roofs. It's really showing up. You can see it at the edge of the moon. But what I want you to focus on is how sharp the craters are. You know, we thought this mirror was a goner, but after cleaning it, it turned out to be really, really nice. The next one up, let's switch over to the orange one. There we go. And I apologize for the shakiness. Changing the filter does require a little bit of effort, and it moves the telescope just a little bit. Now, next up, we're going to switch over to red. It's a little bit more sinister. Kind of neat, though, right? Looks a little bit Marsish. Now, when I switch it over to the unfiltered, you're going to notice it's going to be noticeably brighter, but it's also going to be blurry. So I'll have to focus it. The filters themselves change the focal plane just slightly. So give me a second here. I'll go ahead and focus it. There we go. Whoops, bumped it. Hang on. Let's get it back in focus. There we go. You can see the down at the bottom left, the hills. It is just really, really sharp, and I'm very, very happy with this mirror. Moon looks fantastic. I'd love to see it when it's not right above the neighbors' roofs. This also gave me the chance to break out the 52mm Reds double Plossel built by Steve Case. I made a dumb mistake. I started observing the planets without letting the mirror properly cool down, only about 15 to 20 minutes. Now, this is Jupiter. It looked okay, nothing super spectacular, but I tried again about an hour later, and wow, this telescope was a real planet killer. I could see sharp details on Jupiter, and I could see a dark surface area on Mars. Now, they don't come through in this smartphone video, but visually, Jupiter and Mars were a delight. Let's step through the filters for Jupiter. Here we have red, and then orange, and then the yellow-green. Of all the filters, I found that the green-yellow one made Jupiter's clouds really pop. And then that blue. Now, blue also looked pretty good too. I think the lesson here is that if you have a very thick mirror, you really need to let it acclimate to the temperature, at least about an hour. Now, I'm a fan of seeing Saturn's rings at an angle, but this edge-on view is still pretty cool. Let's go through the color filters. What can I say? Mars was pretty small, but you could still see the disk, and it was actually at some kind of phase right now. But I would say that the last two filters, visually at least, you could see kind of a dark area on the surface, which was pretty cool.
So if you have a mirror that is 2 inches thick, be sure to give it at least an hour, if not more, to acclimate to the outside air, even if the cooling fan is blowing. Well, thank you for joining me on this big adventure restoring this wonderful TeleKit Dobsonian telescope made by AstroSystems. Many thanks to Randy Cunningham for answering so many of my questions. And if you haven't figured it out, I've been very impressed by this telescope, all the way from the woodwork to the features like the quick switch filter box. If you're thinking about getting your own TeleKit, please tell AstroSystems that the Reflactor channel sent you. Now, if you've enjoyed this restoration and you want to see one of my toughest, check out this video up here. I also have another one down there. This channel has lots of restoration videos. And until next time, clear skies, everybody.